First, let's start by boiling 4.5 cups of water. This is the brand of flour that I use. You will be needing 1 bag of rice flour and 1 bag of tapioca starch. Mix your 2 bags of flour together and then pour in 4.5 cups of the boiling hot water, and make sure the water is boiling hot. You can use a wooden spoon or even a chopstick to stir it all together until it cools off enough for you to knead with your hands. When you're done stirring it, it should look something like this, a little chunky, but all combined. When you're done stirring it, start to hand knead it as best as you can until you can get it really smooth. You can take a few second breaks in between because it is really hot. When you're done kneading, it should come out smooth, something like this. Almost like Play-Doh, really smooth. It should be also gummy consistency. If not, then it's probably not going to come out right. Make sure you have an extra bag of tapioca flour on the side so you can flour your surface. After flouring your surface, take a piece of dough from the big ball of dough and put it on your surface and just try to work it and flatten it out as best as you can. You don't have to make it super flat if you don't like your noodles super flat. If you like it chunky and chubby on the thick side, just flatten it as best as you can, but not super flat. If you don't like your noodles super long, you can cut it somewhere here in the midpoint, but that part is optional. After flattening your dough to your desired thickness, you're just gonna add some flour to the surface and fold it so it's easier for cutting. You can also cut it as thick or as thin as you like, but the thicker that you do cut it, the longer it will take to cook. When you finish cutting the noodles, it should look something like this. Make sure you sprinkle some extra flour so that way you can separate the noodles because it will just clump together. The noodles should look something like this. Make sure to boil a really big pot of water, maybe halfway, and throw in a couple slices of fresh ginger. When the water with ginger pieces has boiled, you can add some salt, MSG, and powdered chicken broth. When all of that comes to a full boil, you can add in your raw chicken, or you can put a whole rotisserie chicken just like I did. Boil a smaller pot of water for the noodles. After the rotisserie chicken boils for about 10 minutes, you can take it out to shred the meat off of the bones. But for raw chicken, you may have to cook it for 25 to 35 minutes. When the water for the noodles start to boil, just add a little bit of salt and add in your noodles a little at a time. Make sure it's spread out and not just clumped into one pile, just like this. After adding the noodles in, do not stir it immediately because the noodles will break. Just let it sit. When the noodles start to float like this, when it's boiling, you can start to stir it, but try to be very, very gentle. After giving it that quick stir to loosen up the noodles, let it boil for about 5 to 6 minutes. After those 5 to 6 minutes, turn off the stove and let the noodles sit in the pot for another 5 minutes before serving. Those extra 5 minutes of letting the noodles sit in the pot when the stove is off, it helps it cook a little bit more without overcooking it. After you add the noodles to your bowl, add your shredded chicken, and then add a little bit of broth on top. And this is your final result. I like to add chopped green onions, chopped cilantro, chili oil, bean sprouts, fried onions, fried garlic, sriracha, whatever you like. You could even keep it simple and not add any spices. Enjoy, everyone. I hope I was helpful on making kaopiak noodles. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe.